Last night at the UFC 318 post-fight press conference, Dana White was specifically asked about Jon Jones unretiring and returning to headline the UFC event at the White House, which is supposedly going to happen in 2026. And Dana White threw cold water on it. Dana White shut it down. We're going to check out the clip in this video. But there's a lot more to this situation than really meets the eye. But this is one of the first times we've seen trouble in paradise between Dana White and Jon Jones. Dana White's been glazing him for 2 years. But if you paid attention closely at the UFC 317 post-fight press conference, Dana White and Jon Jones' relationship started to really fracture and crack. And Dana White flat out called Jon Jones a liar at that presser. We're going to check that out as well. But we have a lot to break down in this video, so let's jump right into it. The first thing I want to start with, okay, because a lot of people don't realize this. I feel like this is a main point that is just not discussed when it comes to the Dana White-Jon Jones situation. This is a clip from Dana White right after UFC 285. And what people don't realize, the reason Dana White went all in on Jon Jones, the nonstop, Jon Jones, he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. Jon Jones, he's got German Shepherds. He slapped spray paint cans out of teenagers' hands. The reason Dana White did this is because Francis Ngannou embarrassed Dana White in the UFC. That is why Dana White went off on this maniacal, insane, glazing tour of Jon Jones. This is immediately after Jon Jones defeated Cyril Gane, and this was the motive behind Dana White nonstop upping Jon Jones at every press conference. Check this out.
Well, the Francis fight, if he doesn't go for the heel hook, he wins that fight. I mean, he made one silly mistake, you know, out of the 5 rounds. Tonight, to even compare Francis Ngannou or Cyril Gane to Jon Jones, you can't even compare him to this guy. He went in there and finished. I don't know how you got. I still can't fucking believe what I saw. How easy and how fast and how simple he made that look. It's still blowing my mind. So it's hard to even talk about him in any other heavyweights.
So right here, and this is pertinent to what's going on right now between Dana White and Jon Jones. Right here, Dana gives away the game. Remember, Dana didn't show up to wrap the belt around Francis Ngannou at UFC 270 when Ngannou beat Cyril Gane. He's like, man, if it wasn't for that heel hook attempt from Gane, he would have won. What he's trying to do is look at the way Francis beat Cyril Gane versus look at the way Jon Jones beat Cyril Gane. It's not even comparable. He went on in other podcasts to say, man, look what Jon Jones did to Cyril. He'd do it to Francis too. Since when does Dana make predictions? And then he acted like Francis Ngannou was scared of Jon Jones. This is the reason that Dana White was nonstop glazing Jones, and it ended up backfiring on him when Jon Jones ended up retiring instead of fighting Tom Aspinall. But let's check out one more clip from this press conference because it was nonstop. I mean, this entire presser was him overcompensating for Francis Ngannou leaving the UFC because they were trying to treat him like a bum. Listen to this.
Yeah, I think that, you know, winning the championship at 21 and becoming famous and making a lot of money, you know, some people handle it well and some people don't. We've seen guys just completely go off the rails. And Jon Jones is a very unique case because he's gone off the rails, but he's managed to. He's almost like a functional, you know. He's been able to do what most people couldn't do, even if they were straight. If they walked a straight line, they couldn't do what Jon Jones has done. So, yeah, I don't know. He's a unique individual. He's different than everybody else. And like I said earlier, he's special. He's just different, and he's the greatest of all time. There's no denying it now. And I don't even really know how to answer your question.
So he doesn't even know what the question was. He's just like, oh, let me suck off Jon Jones for 2 minutes. Anyway, we all know how this ended, okay? I'm not going to go through all that and watch different clips. Dana White guaranteed Jon Jones would fight Tom Aspinall. Then it didn't end up happening, And then at UFC Baku, the post-fight press conference, Dana White's like, Jon Jones called me last night. He retired. This was only like a month ago. I don't remember the exact date, but it was only like a month ago. I don't even know if it was a full month ago. Dana White announces the retirement of Jon Jones. I've already made countless videos on that. We're not going to watch those clips. But now we have this supposed UFC White House event happening in 2026. I'm not sure that it's actually going to happen, but it may very well happen. We'll see as we get closer. When they actually potentially announce a date, then maybe I'll actually think it's legit. But right now, I don't believe it. But since this White House event was teased out there, Jon Jones is already unretired. Here's a clip of him recently from TMZ saying he has a strong feeling he'll be on the UFC White House card. Listen to this.
I know you said you came out.
Hold on, let me turn this is way too loud. Let me turn it down.
Retirement because you want to fight at the White House.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Did he call? Have you had any motion on that since you said that?
No, we haven't had a conversation about it, but I have a very strong feeling that I'll be fighting that night for sure.
And
I have a very strong feeling I'll be fighting that night for sure. Jon Jones supposedly already re-entered the UFC drug testing pool, which is all in-house now. So obviously the UFC, I don't really think they have any trust to that drug testing program. But Jon Jones goes from retired the night of UFC Baku to vacating the heavyweight title and Tom Aspinall becoming the undisputed champion to now just a mere couple weeks later, he's announcing his unretirement and his return to the UFC. There's multiple clips. Here's another clip. Here's him walking through the airport. Listen to this.
So they've announced this White House UFC fight. Can we expect to see you on the card?
I can't promise anyone anything, but I have a very strong feeling that I'll be on that card. It's going to be historic.
But who would you take on? Who would be your dream opponent?
I would want to take on whoever's holding the belt at the end of the year.
Any possible names you think?
Well, I mean, as of right now, the champion is Tom Aspinall, but we'll see who's the champion at the end of the year. It'd be only fitting to have an American guy fight for the championship that night, and I'd be willing to put it all on the line.
So there you go. Jon Jones seems committed to fighting if there is a UFC White House card. There's one more clip I want to show you. Listen to this.
Felt like there wasn't too many more challenges for me, and I just wanted to do something more than championships and money. And Donald Trump mentioned that he wanted to have a fight at the White House Garden, and that just seems like such a huge opportunity. I'm a very proud American. I have a lot of close friends that are in the military, and this is my act of I can't call it service, but just to be able to entertain the country and the world at this level at the White House, it just means the world to me. So I'm back.
I'm back. He's back. He's got friends that are in the military. I guess that somehow correlates to fighting at the White House. I don't really get it. But either way, he's back. I can't help but wonder, had this White House event been announced, I keep putting it in quotations because I still have a hard time believing it, before they stripped Jones, would Jones have went to the UFC, or Jones vacated, whichever you want to say, would Jones have went to the UFC and said, look, let's wait for the White House card and I'll defend against Aspinall on the White House card? Imagine had they asked Tom Aspinall to sit out for another year. Wouldn't put it past him at all. But Jon Jones has made his intentions very clear to return to the UFC and fight if there is a UFC White House event. Now, a lot of people may have missed this, but this is the UFC 317 post-fight presser. Because Dana White was basically trying to bury the story about Jon Jones because he glazed him for years only for it to blow up in his face. That's why he announced it at UFC Baku. But Dana White at UFC 317 was confronted with the fact that Jon Jones had alluded to, I had told the UFC I was retired since I fought Stipe, and they kept stringing me along and stringing the fans along, which is a theory, allegedly to help bolster the streaming rights deal, okay? And Dana White responds to those tweets here. Listen to this. This is at UFC 317. We're not even at UFC 318 yet.
Since you brought him up, down here, since you brought up Jon, I don't know if you...
I didn't bring Jon up, he did.
Oh, okay, fair enough. He gave you a layup. I don't know, did you see his series of tweets over the last few days inferring that basically he told you guys that he was retired last November and that your efforts to make the Aspinall fight were basically futile?
It's not true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what you wanted to ask me?
Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. But what do you make of him coming out and saying saying contrary to what you've said there?
I don't know. I'm telling you the truth.
Well,
Believe who you want to believe.
I don't know how to respond here, but fair enough. Thank you.
You like how Dana gets pissed and starts pressing the guy? Is that what you wanted to ask me? Yeah, that's what I asked you. So Dana says it's not true. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. I don't believe Jon Jones. I don't believe Dana White. I think the truth is honestly probably somewhere in the middle. But this is the first real public appearance where Dana White shows like, I'm angry at Jon Jones. And he is angry at Jon Jones because he sat around hyping up Jon Jones for so long because of the insecurity about Francis Ngannou leaving the UFC. And now it's blown up in his face. Jon Jones retires instead of fighting Tom Aspinall. Dana White looks like a fool. They strung along Tom Aspinall for over a year when he could have actually been fighting. And now Dana looks like a complete and utter idiot. So there's no doubt in my mind that Dana White is upset at Jon Jones. So now Jon Jones comes out and he says, yeah, I really want to fight at the White House. I really want to fight at the White House. You think Dana White is just going to go all of a sudden gung-ho and say, yeah, Jon Jones 100% main event in the White House? No, he's going to kind of play it coy. He's going to play it cool. And maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. And more recently, yesterday at UFC 318, he was asked specifically, will Jon Jones headline the UFC 318 fight card? Listen to this. This is very interesting. As always, has the Power Slap Cup nearby. Listen to this.
I want to do it. I'm going to fly out there in about 10 days, 2 weeks, and we'll have all the renderings done, sit down with him and go through the renderings and see what he wants to do and what he doesn't want to do.
And Jon Jones says he wants to be on there too, and he says he would fight whoever the champion is at that time. But would you be okay with him like coming back and potentially winning that belt again? And you might have to go through everything.
Well, it's not even about him winning the belt. I mean, you know how I felt about him. I can't risk putting him in big positions in a big spot and have something go wrong.
Fair enough.
Yeah, especially the White House card.
I can't risk putting him in big spots and something go wrong. Well, Dana, for years, you were putting him in the biggest spot ever. Oh, the biggest heavyweight fight of all time against Tom Aspinall. It's 100% definitely going to happen. I promise everyone it's going to happen. And then you failed to deliver it. And now Jon Jones, who pissed him off, is showing interest in unretiring and returning to fight at the White House. And Dana's like, yeah, I can't risk it. I can't risk it at all. Now, me personally, I'm just going to tell you right now, and I'm going to break down why I believe this in a second with some evidence. I don't believe Dana. I don't believe him at all. He's clearly not happy with Jones. He's not going to be gung-ho like a giddy schoolgirl about his return, but he definitely wants Jon Jones to retire and fight Tom Aspinall. And you don't have to take my word for it, because I have video evidence of Dana White saying he wants Jon Jones to fight Tom Aspinall on the White House card. On the White House card. But this is the most recent statement at UFC 318. Now, Jon Jones did react to this. I heard the comments made at last night's press conference. While I was a little disappointed, I'm still in the UFC drug testing pool, staying sharp and continuing to train like a professional. I'll be ready for whatever comes next. In a recent interview, I shared that the opportunity to fight at the White House gave me something deeper to fight for. A, quote, why, end quote, that goes beyond paychecks or belts. Fighting for my country gives me a greater purpose. The silver lining in all this is knowing that fans see my heart. They see I am ready and willing to take on anyone to represent my country on a historic stage. For me, it's never been about the opponent. I'm chasing legacy, something timeless, something bigger than the moment. So for now, I'll keep grinding, stay patient, and stay faithful. I'm ready to fight on July 4th. Now, if Dana at UFC 318 is being 100% serious, I understand it, man. Jon Jones is habitually in trouble, and we're going to trust him to potentially headline an event at the White House, a first ever UFC White House event. You're going to trust Jon Jones to do that? There's media that keeps throwing around Jon Jones, Conor McGregor, UFC White House. The only thing crazier than trusting Jon Jones to headline a UFC White House event would be trusting Conor McGregor. And we're going to expose Dana White on Conor McGregor at the end of this video as well. We're going to include that. I got this video raring to go, okay? But if Dana White is being honest here and not just kind of pissed and he doesn't want to welcome Jon Jones back with open arms, I do understand it. But at the end of the day, what has Dana been saying for over a year? Jon Jones, Tom Aspinall, biggest heavyweight fight ever. Can you imagine Dana White promoting Tom Aspinall, the UK champion, defending his belt against the American guy who never lost his title in Jon Jones at the White House with a crazy stacked undercard? Now, again, I still have reservations whether any of this happens, but could you imagine how many pay-per-view sales that would bring? And at the end of the day, what does Baldy only care about? What does he care about? He cares about money. That's what he cares about. But what Dana is doing here, what I believe Dana is doing here, and the reason I showed you him glazing Jones earlier is because Dana is tempering expectations. He knows it's a year away. He doesn't want to come off as welcoming Jon Jones back with open arms because he's still pissed off at Jon Jones. But he truly doesn't know if Jon Jones is actually going to fight or not. Jon Jones could just be saying this to cover up the kind of, I don't know, how do I want to phrase this? Jon Jones could be saying this to try to earn back some respect that he's lost from the MMA community. Some of it unfair, some of it fair. Where he's like, look, I was ready to fight Tom Aspinall and the UFC didn't let me. But then Dana is also playing that game. If you guys remember, initially, when Dana was negotiating with Jon Jones, he was saying Jones was scared of Ngannou. Then when he was negotiating with Ngannou, he was saying Ngannou was scared of Jones. And then eventually we saw how that scenario played out. But then it's like, yeah, I can't risk Jon Jones headlining this card. When it comes down to money, and also he trusts Conor McGregor to headline UFC 303 International Fight Week last year. He trusted him, which ended up not even happening, which I told you guys for a long time it wasn't going to happen. And by the way, Dana White apparently didn't even believe it was going to happen. We're going to get to that in a second. But the reason I don't believe this, and the MMA media is running with it, and I know technically I have a video on it right now, Dana White can't risk Jon Jones being involved in UFC potential White House event. Jon Jones says UFC White House event would be retirement fight. Dana White responds. Jon Jones responds as Dana White rules him out of UFC White House event, so on and so forth. Now, the State of MMA Media is abysmal and embarrassing, and it's crazy they don't actually pay attention to anything. They just report whatever they hear at the press conference with no actual bearings of the situation, because if you actually paid attention, you would have seen this clip from literally a week before UFC 318. This was roughly a week, maybe a little bit more, before the UFC 318 post-fight presser where Dana White says he can't risk Jon Jones headlining. Listen to this, boys.
And stuff. So, and I saw Jones. We don't know if he was serious. Is he not retired anymore? Is he back in the...
You jump back in the pool, so...
Really?
Yeah.
Officially?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Because they're not going to want to miss something like this. So how sick is that for you that now you kind of got this White House event for them, and it's like... I feel like this is what brings...
No matter who popped up or who didn't or whatever.
By the way, look at this shit-eating grin. You're telling me Dana doesn't look happy that Jon Jones is back in the testing pool? He looks awfully happy to me. He's like, yeah, Jon Jones is back in the pool. Guess what Dana White has over Jon Jones now that he didn't have before? He had zero leverage over Jon Jones. He had zero leverage. Now he has a little bit of leverage. Jon Jones, he retired. He relinquished the belt, and he wants to fight on the White House event, allegedly. Dana White has some leverage over Jon Jones now, and he's happy about that. But that's not the part I really wanted to show you. Listen to this. Again, this was a week before. He can't risk Jon Jones headlining the event.
We would have put on an incredible card. But the fact that literally everybody wants to fight on this card, makes it a lot more fun.
What would be the dream main event?
What would be the dream main event, Dana? He's definitely not going to say Jon Jones, right? What would be your dream main event of the UFC White House card, Dana White? What would be your dream event? Let's listen. He's definitely not going to say Jon Jones, right?
I have no idea.
No.
I mean, the dream main event right now would be Aspinall versus Jones.
At the White.
So, I mean, seriously. Seriously. He's chilling with the Nelp boys. These are his boys. He's a little bit more relaxed rather than being around the MMA media, which he despises. His dream event. Let's rewind that.
Be the dream main event.
I have no idea.
No.
I mean, the dream main event right now would be Aspinall versus Jones.
At the White House.
On any main event.
Yeah.
And how could they turn that down? That's the thing. It's like, you want to fight at the White House?
I don't know. We'll see.
Is it possible that McGregor and Jones would fight on the same card?
Could be. Anything is possible. I mean, anything's possible.
Well, this is also...
Could be. Imagine someone who actually believes Jon Jones and McGregor headlining the UFC White House card. That would be straight up insanity. I don't think I've ever been more confident of something not happening in my entire life. I'm not even sure the event's going to happen, let alone Jones and McGregor both being on the card, I guess his main and co-main event. And talk about having, Dana White says it's possible. Anything's possible, which I get is kind of vague. His dream main event. So he goes from his dream main event is Jones Aspinall to now at UFC 318 post-fight presser. We're going to play this for you one more time. Listen to this.
Even about him winning the belt. I mean, you know how I felt about him. I can't risk putting him in big positions in a big spot and have something go wrong.
Fair enough.
Yeah, especially the White House card.
So from that, and then a week prior, we get this.
Now would be Aspinall versus Jones.
At the White House.
On any main event.
Yeah.
And how could they?
That's his dream fight. That is his dream fight. So these two statements don't reconcile. I believe Dana White, again, I've said this before, he realizes he got burned because Ngannou embarrassed him in the company. He then compensated by going on to glaze Jon Jones into eternity. That backfired on him. Now Jones wants to return. He doesn't want to welcome him back with open arms. And he also wants to temper expectations, but also he wants to keep some of the leverage. If he goes out publicly, and he said it on this podcast, but if he goes out publicly, 100% we're targeting Jones versus Aspinall. First off, we don't know if Aspinall is even going to be champion by then. He may very well be. We don't know. I guess he would get one fight in between now and then. But Dana White wants to have some leverage over Jon Jones now. So he's coming out and saying, look, I don't know if I can risk it, man. I don't know if I can risk having Jon Jones headline a UFC White House event. But literally a week before, and somehow the media doesn't do any research, a week before, he's literally saying it's his dream main event for any card, especially the White House. Now, the last thing I want to end this video with, and this should have been the biggest news in MMA at the time, and I've showed this clip a couple times in different videos. Dana White announced last year Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler, UFC 303. As you guys know, well-documented history on this channel. I told you guys I never believed it would happen, even once it got announced. Well, I wasn't alone, boys. I wasn't alone. Dana White didn't believe it was going to happen either. So Dana White didn't trust Conor McGregor to headline UFC 303, but made the fight anyway. You don't believe me? Listen to what Dana White has to say in this obscure interview that he did with a news station that none of the media actually reported, when it should have been some of the biggest news in MMA, because here is the UFC president saying, I didn't believe a fight was going to happen that I booked, announced, and sold tickets to. Listen to this.
Had the injury. He's done a ton for this sport, obviously. He's been a megastar. You know this. And fans have been wondering about his return. When is it going to happen? And can he still compete at a high level? In your eyes, from somebody who knows him, does McGregor still have that hunger?
Well, let me tell you this. I was the one this year saying, I don't think he's going to fight this year. Amidst all the talk and everything else, even the fight being set up in the press conference.
Even the fight being set up in the press conference, I did not believe it was going to happen. You sold tickets to it, Baldy. So you have Conor McGregor out there raping up a storm. Dana White was willing to take the risk and have him headline International Fight Week last year. You don't think for 1 second he's going to take the risk on his boy Jon Jones returning and fighting Tom Aspinall in one of the biggest heavyweight fights of all time? I think Dana is going to take that risk, but he realizes Jon Jones' retirement blew everything up in his face. So he does not want to give Jon Jones any leverage by going out on a media tour and saying, yeah, man, I really want Jones Aspinall. He wants to act to Jon Jones like, yeah, I don't need you, Jon. I don't need you, Jon. And a lot of people are reveling in this, and I'm actually tired of hearing about Jon Jones. I wish he would retire and stay retired, to be quite honest. I mean, it'll be crazy if he comes back and fights Aspinall, but do I really want to see it if he's just going to be a one-off and he's going to retire afterwards? Who even cares that much? But at the end of the day, Dana White does not want to give him more leverage than he already has. So Dana White is acting in the media like that's not the fight he 100% wants for the UFC White House event. Because again, the White House event may not even happen. It may end up like Elon Musk versus Zuckerberg. I don't even remember his first, Mark Zuckerberg. It may end up like Musk versus Zuck that he sold t-shirts to. So the event may not happen. And if the event doesn't happen, Jones seems like he doesn't even want to unretire unless he's fighting at the White House. So Dana White's not going to preemptively give leverage to Jon Jones. But this is a very interesting situation. Obviously, it's going to play out over the next 6 months to a year. It's going to be very interesting to see if this event actually happens and if Jon Jones actually returns to the sport. But I wanted to break this down because everyone's talking about Jon Jones being shut down to main event the UFC White House event, which he kind of was. But Dana White a week before saying that's his dream main event. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I would greatly appreciate it. And see you guys in the next video.